Hello everyone and welcome to Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. This week coming to you from the state of Mississippi. On the show this time, we tell you about a growing problem in Mississippi.
It's just not farmers that need to be concerned about this. It's everybody needs to be concerned about it. So when hogs, as they are doing in some places in Mississippi, moving into your neighborhood and destroying your plants and turning over trash cans, then it becomes your problem as well. So it's literally a problem for everybody in Mississippi.
We have a story about a program that has beekeepers and farmers working together.
As a beekeeper, I realize that, farmers, they have their crops they have to take care of. They have to spray for their pests. The thing about it, what I like about working with the farmers is that out here, when they spray, they're spraying for a target insect. And bees are not what they're after. They're after a target insect, something that's going to usually be like a leaf-eating insect or something of that nature.
We take a look at how modern technology is making life easier for cattle farmers.
Under that management calculator, one that's really popular is the dosage. So if they're giving an animal a dewormer or an antibiotic, it's really important that they give them the recommended dosage that's found on that manufacturer's label for that animal's size. So if we've got a 500-pound animal and our recommended dosage is off of our label is 10 mils per 100 pounds, that animal would get 50 milliliters of, say, that dewormer.
Plus, we'll have our Meet a Farmer segment and our Mississippi on the Menu segment with Nancy Freeman. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Every year, more and more consumers are taking advantage of the bounty of products grown by farm families of Mississippi.
It's important to me that I feed my family affordable, wholesome produce. We're blessed that in the U.S., we pay only a fraction of our income for much better quality food than other countries. I know I'm feeding my family healthy meals and saving money.
The farm families of Mississippi, feeding Mississippi and the world.
The expanding populations of feral hogs are a significant concern to farmers, livestock producers, natural resource managers, and animal health officials. Free-ranging herds of these swine are located in at least 40 states. They cause extensive damage and disease threats to public property, native ecosystems, livestock health, and human health. But to find out why this threat is expanding so rapidly, we need to start at the beginning.
The feral hog and/or wild boar is not native to the U.S., and so they were brought here, dating back to as far back as the 1500s, brought over by Hernando de Soto and other explorers. And then over time, the way people hundreds of years ago managed livestock, pigs were managed very similarly to the way we manage cattle today, in that a lot of them were free-ranging. And so you have the combination of some of those getting loose and becoming feral and naturalized in the wild, and then you have people intentionally bringing them over, the wild boar, the Russian or Eurasian wild boar, bringing them over for the purpose of hunting. And so they were intentionally colonized in certain areas, and then those populations would hybridize. And so that's where you start seeing these pockets starting, hundreds of years ago, you start seeing these pockets of wild boar and feral hogs, and that's kind of how it got started.
Feral hogs reproduce more than any animal in North America because they can live anywhere and have few, if any, natural enemies.
So for about 80 years, there were only about 15, 16, 17 states in the U.S. that had wild pigs, and that was primarily the southeastern U.S. and California. And then around 1990 to the early 2000s, now we have about 40 states in the U.S. now have wild hogs. That's not from natural colonization and expansion. It's impossible for hogs to expand or grow from Texas and then go to Illinois, or Texas to Wisconsin, or Florida to Kansas. All that is unnatural, that is completely man-made, and that is people capturing hogs, typically with dogs, loading them up on a trailer, and shipping them and moving them somewhere else solely for the purpose of establishing a new population for the purpose of recreational hunting. And it's highly illegal.
This rapid expansion of the feral hog population has been most devastating to agriculture.
We get reports from producers, throughout Mississippi and of course throughout the southeast, where hogs can literally destroy a single cornfield in a night. Over a span of a few days, we have producers that have had 200 acres of corn completely destroyed, totally destroyed by a sounder or maybe more sounders of hogs. So in certain areas, it's complete devastation. So some crops are completely lost. The producer replants, it's completely lost again. So some places, it's literally changing what farmers can plant and where. On a nationwide scale, the estimates are about $800 million a year is the damage that's caused by hogs to agriculture. Tangible cost to agriculture, damage like that. When you fold in the cost associated with control, so federal programs for controlling hogs, that number now is $1.5 billion a year. And I personally believe that's a gross underestimate. But that's the most scientific number we have right now is $1.5 billion a year is what hogs are costing, U.S. taxpayers and producers.
There have been lots of methods tried to control the hogs, but there's one that definitely does not work, and that's recreational hunting.
Some of the estimates are places where recreational hunting is common, it's only going to remove 20 to 25% of the population. What's needed is about 75% of the population has to be controlled to keep the population under control or to cause it to decline. And so why can't recreational hunting, why can't you generate that much? Because pigs get smart. They're a smart animal, and they realize when hunting pressure. They realize when they're getting shot at. They realize when they're getting chased. All the same things that by the end of deer season, it gets to be hard to see a deer. It gets hard to see a hog when they're hunted hard.
The most effective way to control the hogs is by developing a very deliberate, strategic trapping system.
You're constructing very large corral traps with the hopes that every time that door drops, and it doesn't drop very often, but every time that door drops, you're catching 10, 15, 20 hogs at a time. And when you start having removals every week or 2 weeks or once a month, when you're taking 15, 20, 30 hogs off the landscape, you start to see a difference.
As bad as the damage is to agriculture, it's not limited to the rural landscape. There have been recorded instances of wild swine rooting through suburban areas, digging through gardens, destroying golf courses and city parks. And though it doesn't happen very often, feral hogs can directly infect people with diseases like brucellosis and pseudorabies. And so, to help with the control of these pesky animals, the Mississippi legislature passed a law substantially increasing the fines if you're caught transporting wild hogs without a permit, and you lose your hunting and fishing licenses for 1 year.
But what we want to try to make them aware that it's just not farmers that need to be concerned about this, it's everybody needs to be concerned about it. So when hogs, as they are doing in some places in Mississippi, moving into your neighborhood and destroying your plants and turning over trash cans, then it becomes your problem as well. So it's literally a problem for everybody in Mississippi.
We'll be right back after these messages.
The safety of our food is something we take for granted, and there are inspections that guarantee the food we put on our dinner tables is safe. Always read country of origin labels to ensure that fish, seafood, or produce is grown in the U.S., preferably Mississippi.
The health of your family is important. Be an informed consumer. Be sure you purchase safe, nutritious food products.
The Farm Families of Mississippi, growing safe, nutritious food. Being a farmer means a long day and an even longer list of jobs to be done.
When people ask me why I'm a farmer, the answer is easy. I want to be one of the people that provides your family and mine with a good, safe food supply. My animals are a large investment to me and my family. It makes good business sense that they're healthy and well cared for. And it's the right thing to do.
The Farm Families of Mississippi, feeding Mississippi and the world.
Honeybees are responsible for a lot more than just making the honey that we eat. Honeybees are nature's way of making sure that flowers and food products reproduce. But since 2006, some beekeepers have reported unusually high losses of the bee populations in their hives, and some are blaming agriculture. So much of our agricultural productivity is dependent on the European honeybee that it's no wonder that our attention is drawn to their plight. When the honeybee suffers, so does agriculture, and so potentially do all who depend on the bounty that comes from animal-pollinated crops. The USDA says that bee pollination is responsible for more than $15 billion in increased crop value annually, and 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we take comes directly or indirectly from bee pollination. In order for farmers and beekeepers to coexist in close proximity to each other, then good communications must take place. Patrick Swindle is a row crop farmer from northwest Mississippi near Memphis. He works closely with the beekeepers on his land.
Well, you know, first off is if I find him a location and he puts his beehives there, you know, how many he's got there and when he's going to be moving them in and out, or, you know, if there's any kind of issues come up, he talks to me about that. But biggest thing is I've let him know, you know, if I'm going to spray anything nearby, I'm going to let him know, just so that he knows that something has gone on nearby.
Jerry Locke has about 80 hives spread out in 4 counties in northwest Mississippi, and some of them are on Patrick Swindle's place.
As a beekeeper, I realize that, you know, farmers, they have their crops they have to take care of. They have to spray for their pests. The thing about it, what I like about working with the farmers is that out here, when they spray, they're spraying for a target insect. And bees are not what they're after. You know, they're after a target insect, something that's going to usually be like a leaf-eating insect or something of that nature. And so I'm not really too worried about that pesticide. And of course, you know, with the way the farmers do their pesticides, see, they're not out there just spraying willy-nilly. They spray when they see a problem. And so their pesticide spraying is very minimal. And plus, like I said, they're after a target insect.
In order to further the efforts to protect the honeybees, the Mississippi Farm Bureau, the Department of Agriculture, the Mississippi State Extension Service, the Mississippi Beekeepers Association, and others have facilitated discussions to foster a good working relationship between row crop farmers and beekeepers. It's called the Mississippi Honeybee Stewardship Program. One component of the program was the development of a unified flagging system to be used throughout the state to identify hive locations that are near agricultural fields.
The beehives are right over there, not even 100 yards right across to the other side there, and that's why we put the flag right here. You know, it's out in the open, the crop duster can see it, our spray operator can see it, and it's right here in the open.
These black and yellow striped Bee Aware flags are placed where they will be visible both from the ground and from the air to alert pesticide applicators. In some states, laws have been passed requiring beekeepers and farmers to follow certain protocols. But so far, the level of cooperation in Mississippi has allowed for the stewardship program to be voluntary.
When Farm Bureau came with the initiative, we were just very pleased to get involved, mainly because we are a regulatory agency and because of the associations and the relationships we have with some federal partners out there. It was just a natural for us, and we're just real grateful that Farm Bureau allowed us to be a part of it.
This program is setting a precedent by showing there is cooperation and commitment on both sides. They're willing to work together to minimize the risk of economic losses by both the beekeepers and the farmers. It just makes sense that beekeepers and farmers would develop a partnership to help preserve these precious little pollinators. Farmers are always looking for ways to improve efficiency and productivity. Technology is a big part of every segment of agriculture, and that includes the cattle business. The cattle industry of 40 years ago looked a whole lot different than the cattle industry of today. Cattle farmers have done a really good job of looking for genetics that can improve efficiency and yields.
We've come a long way from what we know about a cow when she hits the ground compared to what we knew 40 years ago. So now we have not only pedigree information, so we know how her brothers and sisters, her mom and dad, even her great-grandparents performed along the way, but now we can look at things like we can do genetic testing on them and figure out, you know, is that animal going to be a good producer?
Cattle farmers have also done a lot better in terms of nutrition, so they know a lot more. There's research that's continually updated on what cattle require.
Cows are just like you and I, so they have certain requirements for certain nutrients. So when you look on the back of that cereal box and you see it as % of daily nutrient requirements, we can look at the same thing for cattle. So that kind of goes back to that efficiency. Our farmers are always trying to match what those cows eat as closely to what they need as they can. So we see a lot of improvements in genetics, nutrition, environmental management. Cattlemen are great stewards of the land. We're always about passing things on to future generations, and especially even more so today.
Today's cattlemen have a variety of technological applications at their fingertips for their iPhones or iPads. One in particular that was developed by the Mississippi Cooperative Extension Service is the Cattle Calculator, which quickly calculates a variety of factors that impact livestock management decisions.
Probably the one that gets used the most is calculating a calving date based on a breeding date. So you'll notice at the top of the screen there's a non-Brahman or Brahman category. So the reason behind that is simply being that those Brahman type cows will carry their calves a little bit longer, so we account for that when we calculate when those calves are going to be born. So let's say we bred a cow today, so September 17th, 2014. We go ahead and click calculate, and it's going to tell us we can expect her to calve on June 27th of 2015. And then under that management calculator, one that's really popular is the dosage. So if they're giving an animal a dewormer or an antibiotic, it's really important that they give them the recommended dosage that's found on that manufacturer's label for that animal's size. So if we've got a 500-pound animal and our recommended dosage is off of our label is 10 mils per 100 pounds, that animal would get 50 milliliters of, say, that dewormer.
Billy Ray of Pocahontas has been using this app to monitor cattle on his family's Simmental and Sembra cattle farm in Hinds County.
I've always been taught if you can't measure, you can't manage. And especially as hectic and as busy as things are today, it's just so easy to you're in the pens, you're working cattle, you're preg checking, pull up the app, you can check your bred date, you get your birth date, get your weaning weights. It's just so full of information. It's right there at the palm of your hands, and it just sure makes things easy when you don't really have a lot of time and doing things by yourself.
Ray says his record keeping has greatly improved because of the app. His advice to someone who might be afraid to try it?
If people are scared of technology like I was, make yourself use it, and you'll be so glad you did.
We'll be right back after this timeout. Stay with us.
Farming is just like every other industry, evolving and changing to incorporate technology. A clean, climate-controlled environment, including automated feeding and water, assures that animals are healthy and well cared for. Improved seeds that are disease and insect resistant produce a higher per acre yield, meaning that fewer chemicals are used than in the past. The farm families of Mississippi, valuing tradition while incorporating smart practices.
In our Meet a Farmer segment, we head to the Mississippi Delta and visit with a young couple that raises row crops and beef cattle in Yazoo County.
This is originally my mom's parents' place, and I took it over when my grandfather decided to quit fooling with cattle, and I've been here ever since. We run a beef cattle operation of mostly Brangus and Angus cattle. All of them are fall calving cattle. We calve out in about a 45-day period. And about 2/3 of our land is permanent Bermuda grass pasture, and the other third is used to plant ryegrass for winter grazing.
The row crop operation consists of about 1,400 acres of corn, soybeans, and wheat.
Mostly beans are rotated behind wheat, and our row crop operation is pretty much all in the Delta. We still farm about 250 acres in the hills here, and our row crop is scattered out all over Yazoo County, and we have about 400 acres of irrigated cropland, and the balance of our cropland is dry land.
Matt says one of the biggest challenges he's facing as a farmer is keeping enough land to farm.
Every year the farmland values and rental values are going up, and you have to just be more and more competitive on what you pay for rent, and it's getting real challenging because we have to have a really good budget and know where we stand to know what we can pay for our rental property and to be able to keep enough land to farm. Obviously there's no more land being made, so we have to try to make do the best with what we have.
Matt's been involved with Farm Bureau for many years, including being on the YF&R State Committee.
I think Farm Bureau is great. My granddaddy got me involved with Farm Bureau and on the board, and we think it's great. It's helped me and my wife out a lot. We've met a lot of people that we wouldn't have met had it not been through Farm Bureau. Some of my best friends right now we've met through the YF&R program that we never would have met. It's not as many young people in farming anymore in our county here, and so it helped us reach out to other places in the state and find people that had similar interest to us to go and do things with and to get involved with.
Carrie is a registered mammographer, and the couple has 2 sons, Adam, who is 7, and 3-year-old Wyatt. Now it's time for our Mississippi on the Menu segment with our home economist, Nancy Freeman.
In 2013, our chicken farmers here in the state of Mississippi brought in $2.5 billion to our state's economy. That's just almost 1,500 family farms that are out there raising good, healthy chicken for your family and ours as well. You know, chicken is really a safe product because it's raised with no hormones and no steroids. A lot of people don't know that, but federal regulations prohibit that, and so we make sure it's the freshest and safest for our family dinners. Let's look at a good way to use some chicken. This is an easy oven barbecue chicken, and yeah, I said oven, but we're starting off in a skillet. If you'll notice, I've just put a little bit of olive oil into the skillet. I've got it on medium-high heat, and I've taken just some pieces of chicken and laid it in there just long enough to kind of sear it, and you'll get a nice little bit of a golden color on the edge. We're going to place it over into our baking pan. Ooh, it's starting to smell so good just as it is. And now we're going to make a delicious, easy barbecue sauce to go with it. Our barbecue sauce has red wine vinegar, some Mississippi locally produced honey, which is always great, and a little bit of ketchup and garlic. You put them together in a jar. We're going to shake this up, get it blended really well, and then we're just going to put this over the top of our chicken so that we have a nice, easy flavor going over it. Oh man, this is going to make a great, easy barbecue flavor and a little bit different than perhaps what we're used to having in our homes. So if you enjoy this, it's very simple and easy to do. And we're going to put this into an oven at 350 degrees. And one of the things you need to do when you bake this is you want to be sure and baste it, which simply means putting some of this delicious sauce over the top of this chicken. It's going to be so tender and juicy and delicious. And you know, you're going to have a family meal ready in just 30 minutes. What a quick, easy, and delicious meal for you to have for your family. So check us out at our website at growingmississippi.org and find out this recipe and interesting facts about our chicken farmers here in the state.
We invite you to learn more about Mississippi agriculture and its importance to your daily life. Visit www.growingmississippi.org. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Voices of Agriculture. We hope you've enjoyed the show and will be with us again next time. For all of us here at the Mississippi Farm Bureau, thanks for watching.